Okay, so we're in for the Fantasy Friend League Transfers Podcast Game Week 7. Over to you, Paul.
Hey guys, how's it going? As Rich pointed out, Game Week 7 is upon us. So as we reflect on a weekend where the two Manchester clubs lost, we saw Arsenal's midfield run rampant again as they went top of the Premier League. Some great displays in the week from Everton, especially. I'm sure you were very, very happy with that, Rich.
Yeah, I can't complain.
And then obviously Liverpool did very, very well last weekend as well, where we saw the return of Luis Suarez. Just on that, so I'm joined by Rich. Say hello to the fine people, Rich.
Evening, everyone.
And obviously Keane Tracy. Keane, how are you? Are you well?
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
So, I suppose without further ado, rather than hanging around the place, we'll move straight in. We're going to really, look at the key talking points. So the first is Chelsea. John Terry is their highest scoring fantasy Premier League player this season. He scored a goal for the Blues last weekend. Keane, will you be bringing John Terry into your fantasy team?
Personally, I wouldn't be because I don't have the cash. But I think he's impossible to overlook anymore. He as you said, he scored last week. He started every league game, and I think at the beginning of the season we were kind of highlighting the amount of choice that Jose Mourinho would have in the back four. But it's clear that Terry is the first choice, and Luiz has kind of been pushed aside. And I think most people would have went with Ivanovic, which, I mean, his record is fair enough. But John Terry has made the case, and he's popping up with a couple of goals. So at 6.1 million, I think he's excellent value because it doesn't look like he's going to be out of team anytime soon. And yet, clean sheets are always an option there as well.
So that's something that we wouldn't really have expected to see this season. Obviously, we saw a Mata return the weekend. Now, Chelsea are away to Norwich. Obviously, Chris Hughton had a good away win last week. What do you reckon, Rich? Is it time to bring Juan Mata into your fantasy team?
No. I think there's better options for the money elsewhere. I think Mourinho hates the Chelsea players that Rafa likes the story it's going around, isn't it? Not for me.
Okay. Well, there you have it, straight answers. So might as well have a look at Manchester City. Obviously, they're hosting Everton this weekend. Rich, without your Blues jersey on, will Everton remain unbeaten after this fixture? And if so, do you recommend people having Leighton Baines in their team?
Wouldn't be so sure about Leighton Baines this week. Lukaku, definitely. I've had him in for a couple of weeks now. He's paid me back quite well. Got him in at 7.4. Everton have done reasonably well against City in the Moyes era. Obviously, Martinez done him for the FA Cup last season. I think him and Barkley were unplayable against Newcastle on Monday night. They'd be where I'd be looking. Baines, you're going to get the odd games like where he banged in the 2 free kicks against West Ham, but then you could go weeks again without getting much else. That's where my money would be on it for it anyway.
Okay. And so I suppose off the back that we saw Manchester City were schooled a little bit in Europe by an excellent Bayern Munich performance. Joe Hart made a few mistakes. Do we reckon, I suppose, Negredo might be worth a look, or that there's any Manchester City, I suppose, players or strikers that you should have in your team? Will you be bringing anyone in this week? There, Keane?
In the Man City side of things, I think schooled a little bit by Bayern Munich is completely understating it. They were played off the park. It was a real surprise to see Zabaleta dropped. I'm not quite sure what the thinking was with the likes of Alaba and Ribery down the left flank. I would have thought Zabaleta would have been needed there, and Richards was found out a couple of times, so I think we can expect Zabaleta to come back into the side. Wouldn't be too sure of the clean sheet this week. I'd be looking at Yaya Toure. We tipped him this week on site. I mean, he scored in his last 2 league games, and he scored in the Champions League game prior to the Munich game. His form is it's too good to ignore. His price tag is steadily increasing. I think it's going to be an interesting battle to see how Barkley gets on against him, because obviously Barkley's been heralded, rightfully so, as the next best thing. This will be the biggest test he'll have up against Yaya Toure and Fernandinho. But I think yeah, you highlight Negredo. Again, he's a slight rotation risk, but I would expect him to start. That was a cracking goal he scored last night. But in terms of fancy football this week, I think Yaya Toure is the only one I'd be looking at.
Okay. Rich, what do you reckon? Man United lost last 2 games. They're going to make a comeback, do you think, this week and score a few goals?
Who's that? Sorry, United?
Yeah.
They have to, really, don't they? They've done well against Shakhtar away last night, I suppose. Unlucky to not do it, but I think the pressure's all on there now, boys. Any of you boys got United coverage in there? I'm going to put it out there now. I ain't got any.
Yeah, I got rid of Rooney this week.
He's gone, is he? You got rid of him?
I got rid of him
to sell him. Is it because of the shin bone injury, is it?
Well, there was that, but United they're just not filling me with confidence at the moment, and I'm not convinced that for the amount I'm investing in, I'm going to get the returns. There's better value elsewhere. I got rid of Rooney this week for Suarez. I think there's 0.1 in the difference, but I think Suarez looks like much better value for the sheer fact that United just aren't playing well. They're not clicking. That's saying now they might go and they might put a few past Sunderland this weekend, but for the amount that I'm investing, I'm not seeing the return. So yeah, I ditched Van Persie the week before. I've ditched Rooney this week, so I've got no United coverage left either.
Okay. I've got Rooney, so I'll probably hold on to him for the week that's in it. I understand it though. I think it's a difficult game for United. Sunderland being bottom, they could do United. They didn't play that badly against Liverpool. It was just some great strikers that really made the difference. Off the back of that, then, I mean, would you be looking at, I suppose, Hull and Villa? There's no Benteke, there's no Brady. Would you bring in anyone from there?
Always a case for Bent, isn't there? I guess. Other than that, not really. I suppose Fulham for the clean sheet, maybe a tight 0-0, maybe not much. No.
Yeah, I think we could see a clean sheet. Fulham against Stoke. I mean, goals. This doesn't really scream goals at me. It could be a 0-0 draw. Obviously, we tipped Fulham for the clean sheet last week, and they disappointed. I'm very worried about Fulham this season. I think Martial is a good manager, but he hasn't really got them clicking this season. They're still early days, but they're slightly worrying. But I wouldn't be overruling clean sheets on either side actually for this one.
Yeah, I'd pretty much go along with that, to be honest, mate. I suppose after that we should look at Liverpool Palace. I suppose everyone's all over Suarez then.
Yeah, I think you've got to have Liverpool coverage this week at the back and up front. I think they could score well. Mignolet goes without say at this stage. I mean, he's the most owned keeper in fantasy football. It's a little surprise. He's week in, week out. He's bringing in the points.
He's got maximum bonus saves as well every game. I don't think he's scored a 2 yet, has he?
It's really impressive. There's cases to be made for any of the Liverpool defenders as well. The likes of Toure, Enrique. There was a good article I think Phil posted up about Enrique's attacking potential, and I think I'd agree with that. He's slightly expensive to be investing for me. I still think Kolo Toure is pretty good value. Looking at their midfield, I'm sure people will be going for Moses, but I'm not convinced by him just yet. I think I'd be more interested in Sturridge and Suarez up front. But do you think that, I mean, there's a case? I know you guys don't really like doubling up, but I think both of them could score very well this week. Obviously, would you be bringing them in just for a week alone? But Liverpool have some decent fixtures coming up, and both are in good form. They linked up really well last season. Would you be thinking it's one or the other, and if so, who would it be?
For me, I think if it's one or the other, I'd probably go Sturridge. I think he's a little bit more consistent. Now, I know Suarez will get you a lot of points, So it might be worth doubling up for a week or two, but if I had to pick one, Sturridge is definitely the one that I would go for. Obviously, he scored a lot of goals when Suarez was out of the team, and he got those 2 assists the weekend. Now, arguably, if there was other players on the pitch, he probably may not have passed, so then you see his assist potential increase as well. I wouldn't be tipping the clean sheet. I think Crystal Palace, they'll go attacking. I'd be surprised if Liverpool managed to keep a clean sheet this weekend, but then never say never. I probably will still play Mignolet, as I only invested in one solid keeper. And off the back of that, I mean, if we were to move on, say, to captains, who are you guys going to pick as captain? Because to be honest, I'm kind of between 2 players, and one is Sturridge. I mean, he's in my team, playing relatively well, so it's difficult not to pick him at home. Are you guys thinking it has to be a Liverpool captain this week? What about yourself, Richard? Are you going down that route?
Suarez. Palace has shipped 6 in the last
Definitely
3 games
Suarez.
without reply. Yeah, I think so. He's a poacher, and he come back on his league debut, scored 2. He's back in front of the Anfield faithful after making lots of noise about wanting to move in the summer. He owes them a performance, and I genuinely think that's where it be. Sturridge is a cracking player, don't get me wrong, but Suarez is the out-and-out forward, isn't he, for him? Was it nearly 200 points plus last season? I definitely think that's where my money's going anyway.
Okay. Keane, will I be right in thinking that you'd be the same, thinking Suarez is nailed on as the captain choice?
Yeah, I mean, myself and Rich like to have a golden rule where if you're going to take a hit, you got to captain one of the players who you're bringing in. And I took a hit this week, and one of them, well, I took the hit so I could get Suarez in. That's how well I think he's going to score this weekend. So I'm bringing him in. So I'm going to stick with myself and Rich's rule of if you're bringing him in, you got to captain him. But I think he's the obvious captain this week. If I didn't have him, like, I'd be looking at Sturridge. But I mean, like, looking elsewhere, I'm not convinced. Like, nothing else really stands out to me as obvious as Liverpool this week. Who are you looking at, Paul?
Paul, did you get that? Sorry, but are you looking at for captain this week?
I think for me it has to be Sturridge. Van Persie worried. Yeah, so for me it has to be Sturridge as captain. Manchester United worry me. 2 league defeats in a row. I was at the game last week. The atmosphere started out really, really well, but then as the game went on, it went downhill. I mean, about 34% of people have Van Persie, so I have the fear that Van Persie could knock a couple of goals in, and I might be playing catch up because I've got Rooney. I mean, the cynic says Rooney will play for a little while, and then maybe he'll drop out of the England squad. And who knows? I suppose the way these things work. I think it's an important match, so they probably will need him. But I think it's inconceivable that United are going to go and lose a 3rd league match in a row. With the international break, I expect the strongest team out there. So if I had Van Persie in the team, I would be very tempted to give him the nod, but it's probably going to be Sturridge because he's the one I have, unless I go from your golden rule of doing that. Speaking of which, I've got Ramsey, I've got Ozil in my team. Obviously, we haven't spoke too much about them. They've done very, very well week after week after week, although not so much last week for Ozil. Do you think there's a case to keep the both of them in your team for the next coming weeks? What about yourself, Keane? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I made the point a few weeks ago that I thought it was worth having both. I mean, they're both, like, Arsenal are playing such brilliant football at the moment. So attractive on the eye, but it's yielding like such really good fancy football points as well. Ramsey's still at only 6.4 million now, which is still relatively cheap. Ozil is like, he's as close to a must-have for me. I mean, he's just a points machine. We all knew that was going to be the case, but like, I don't see any let up in this Arsenal form. They're playing really well. A lot depends on Giroud's form. I mean, he's the one that's going to benefit from the likes of Ramsey and Ozil. But I think the case is certainly there to be having both. I suppose it's like the Liverpool situation. Sturridge and Suarez. Arsenal's the same. Ozil and Ramsey are both in fantastic form, and I don't see a problem in having both of them anyway.
Yeah, I've got a cheeky punt on Mertesacker in there, especially with all them crosses. But yeah,
I have Mertesacker as well.
Yeah.
Hope you're right.
I bought him off the back of that, Rich, and he hasn't delivered yet, so I'm not happy with you. You know. Speaking of a defender who I think might actually deliver, Jose Enrique. Liverpool, we saw them play three centre halves a couple of times. If they were to adopt that, all he tries to do and he gets it. So his assist potential then slightly increases as well. So he's someone else to be considering. I was sitting outside here, guys. I thought it was a good idea in view of Wembley Stadium there, just to chill out and get the mood right. It has since started to rain on me, so I'm having. So that's how you saw me go silent there a couple of minutes ago. Anything else that you in week 7, Rich?
Sorry, any other players would I be looking at in week 7? Was that mate? Yeah, I think Michu's probably worth a little cheeky punt, I'd say. Other than that, I don't know. Maybe
Spurs at home to West Ham. I think there's points in that.
Yeah, definitely. Eriksen's good at promising one. Saldado's surely got to pick up some form, hasn't he? You know what I mean?
He's been disappointing. He hasn't scored in the league from play yet, but I mean, I think he's one of those players. Once he hits the back of the net, he's going to go on a run. But I had him from day one. I'm after getting rid of him now. I just got like fed up with him. It's a lot of money to be investing in someone who isn't getting the goals, but I mean, I'd have no hesitation in getting him back in if he got a couple of goals. I do think he's going to get you a lot of points this season. It's just at the moment there's so many strikers in form. Like, I mean, Lukaku, Sturridge. There's better value to be had. But yeah, I watched Spurs earlier on. They rested a lot of their main players. So it was a trip to Russia. So I mean, that shouldn't be a worry. They should be fresh come Sunday. But I think Rich, I have Eriksen. I think I'll be looking at him this week. He would possibly be a sneaky shout as an outside shout for captain, but I'm hoping he can do well this week. Defoe scored again, which is interesting. He seems to score anytime he's playing, and I mean, what more can he do to earn a start? But I still think Soldado will be getting the nod.
Yeah, I'd say Soldado would be well. Did Defoe start in that game? Did you say? Sorry.
Yeah, he started earlier on and he scored. Chadley got the other goal. I think it finished 2-0. But Eriksen came on at the end. Paulinho didn't play. Soldado didn't play. So yeah, it'd be interesting. I think I'd be looking at a clean sheet for Spurs as well. I think Dawson is excellent value, and even Kyle Naughton at the moment seems to be holding down his place, and he's a nice cheap defender who's definitely worth looking at. Yeah, there's a few options. I think there's a lot of points in that game. I just wouldn't be going down the captain's route there because I'm not sure where they're going to come from. But I think Spurs clean sheet, Eriksen, Soldado if you have him. But I don't think I'd be rushing out to buy him.
No, I can go along with that, mate. I could go along with that. To be fair,
it's probably having a look at worth having a look at the Norwich Chelsea game. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely, mate. Yeah.
Where do you see points coming from there?
Chelsea midfield stacked against us. Torres lucky still to be playing, quite frankly, after last weekend's escapade.
He's injured now, so he's going to be out for a while.
Oh yeah. Sorry, yeah, he's injured, isn't he?
So it looks like Etu is going to get the nod. Would you take a punt on him?
No, I don't think so. Mata, do you think maybe? I don't know. Chelsea's too clogged up for me, isn't it? Really, in their midfield.
Yeah,
Jose seems to have one player he's hot about 1 week, and then it seems to fail again. I suppose the Terry pick that you said earlier is probably a decent one.
Yeah, it's difficult to know, as you said. They're playing so narrow that there doesn't seem to be any fluidity between the midfield with all the talented players they have. They're just another team that's not clicking. I thought they'd do really well this season, which of course they probably still will. But it was interesting. Ramirez scored twice during the week. Now, he scored 5 goals last season. He scored 5 goals the season before. He started every league game, which is interesting. He's one of those players that goes under the radar, but he's 6.4 million. But I mean, he does pop up with a goal, and he could be the type of player, away to Norwich on a Sunday afternoon early kickoff, who could pop up with a goal for you. But it's as you said, it's difficult to know. Hazard is another doubt for the game. He missed the Champions League game. Now he's 75%, so usually that means the magic 75. But again, I had Hazard in my team. I got him out. Too expensive, just not getting me the points that he's for the price. So yeah, it's a tricky one to see where the points come from. I think Terry certainly worth a shout. If I had to pick a Chelsea midfielder, I think this week I might actually be looking at Lampard.
He's safe bet, isn't he? You know what I mean? He is always there or thereabouts.
Yeah, and he's going to be on in penalties and like free kicks out to the box.
Yeah.
You know, so it's probably worth it. Looking at 8.9 million Etu, I wouldn't be going there.
There's better options, isn't there, for your money up front? Especially when you look at the likes of Lambert and Lukaku and Boney and players like that
Absolutely
have a good as chance of scoring.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose we should probably look at the final two games we haven't touched on yet. Cardiff, Newcastle. What do you reckon about that?
I shipped Ben Arfa this week. I bought him in for, well, I made some money on him actually, so it wasn't too bad. But yeah, he got subbed at half time in the Everton game, and that's just.
That was a strange. What I didn't see that game. Was that just was that tactical or?
To be honest, I didn't even notice him in the first half. But Cabayon, I think he scored. Newcastle turned it around in the second half. Don't get me wrong; they were a different team.
I got the impression Everton kind of sat back and allowed them into it, though, did they?
I don't know. Yeah, a little bit, I suppose, but they did step it up a little bit, definitely in the second half. But no, like I say, Ben Arfa was the one for me to look out. Cabaye, maybe, I suppose he could be one.
Yeah, Cabaye is interesting. You raise him. I mean, obviously he had his problems pre-season when he was trying to force a move out of the club.
That's what Arsenal won it, yeah.
Yeah, 6 goals last season. I mean, his goal against Everton was absolutely stunning. Like his free kicks are brilliant as well. It's always going to be a threat. Yeah, I think there will be goals in this game, though. I think you mentioned Ben Arfa there. I'm in the same boat. I got rid of him a couple of weeks ago as well. Another one just wasn't getting me the points for the price that I was paying for him. But I do think he could do well this week. At 6.4 million, I think I'm right in saying 6.2. Cabaye it's an interesting shout for this week, and I think if I was looking for a sneaky outsider to bring in this week, he's definitely one I'd be looking at. And the Cardiff side of things, Peter Whittingham, he's going to be a favourite of mine all season. I think he's going to get you points. I wrote an article during the week. It's in the members area for anyone that hasn't seen it, about the battle of the mid-price midfielders, and it was just basically discussing the likes of Whittingham, who were popping up with goals and assists for mid-price. And I mean, he's only 5.1 million. He's already gotten a goal and 2 assists, and I think he's going to do well this season. He has Premier League experience in the past with Aston Villa, and he started really well. And I think he's certainly one to be looking at this week. What do you reckon?
Yeah, there's been a few of them. Brady was knocking around for a bit, wasn't he, as well, before he picked up the injury?
Yeah.
Amalfitino as well, isn't it, at West Brom?
Yeah, I really
scored
like him.
2 on the back. Yeah, absolutely. There's so much choice out there at the moment. It's pot luck some weeks, isn't it? Let's be honest with it at the moment. Yeah,
that was the point I was making. It's always the case. There's always bargains out there, but just this season, at the start of it more than ever, there just seems to be a lot of choice in that price range. But the trouble is, as you said, trying to find the right balance between your Ozils, your Hazards, your Yaya Tourés, and your mid-price midfielders, because there's a lot of choice. And as you said, like Brady's out now for a few weeks. He's having a hernia operation. He's had it already, so that's minimum 4 to 6 weeks recovery period. That's a huge blow. He's been doing really well. He's been Hull's outstanding player. Do you think, would you hold on to him? Do you have him?
Brady?
Yeah.
No, I didn't get on that early enough, to be fair.
Yeah, I have him now, and I'm kind of in a rut. Do I stick with him? Because I mean, when he comes back fit, he's going to come straight back in the team. I don't see a dip in his form. I think I will hold on to him for a few weeks, because another point I was trying to highlight in the article during the week was that the international break is coming at the right time for, we'll say, Brady, because it's not going to affect your fantasy football as severely as it could have on another week. So I think it's probably worth holding on to him. I don't see his value dropping too much he's still only, I think, 5.3 million, and that's excellent value for the points he's returning. So I suppose on that Hull Villa game with Brady out, do you think Hull can make it back-to-back wins?
I tell you what, they turned over Newcastle, didn't they? Hull might stay up. I don't see them being a team. It's a tough one. We're only 6 games in, but I don't know. It's a tough one, and it could go either way at the moment with these teams, can't it? We saw West Brom doing United, so it's.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be backing against a Hull clean sheet here. Obviously, Villa had a great result last week against City, but Hull have been no pushovers, and they're doing well, and they've looked solid. I mean, McGregor at 4.5 million, and they've plenty of defenders who are 4.5 million and under. So there is value to be had there. They're good squad players. Villa, of course, without Benteke, I mean, they'll be hoping to build on last week's result, but I think Agbonlahor is going to miss out again this week, and it's difficult to see where you'd be going for points. Vyman 6 million. I just don't think in the long run. Not in the long run. So I mean, it's probably a fixture. If anywhere, I'd probably be looking at a Hull cheap defender if you had him, but I don't think I'd be investing too heavily in that.
Yeah, I had Chester in at the beginning of the season. Devo, he's been injured actually.
Yeah, I think
cracking little pie man.
Yeah, you and plenty of others. I think he was flagged. He was flagged early in the season. So I mean, to wrap this up, you want to give your two captains picks again there for the good people?
Nailed on Suarez, cheeky outsider. I don't know. You could possibly go Ozil, I suppose. He's away. West Brom though, they've kept it tight, but I can see goals there. Man United, Sunderland were woeful, weren't they? The manager list, they were. There's RVP Rooney, maybe if you wanted it. Can Man United lose back to back again?
Well, it'd be three league games in a
row.
Three,
sorry, yeah.
You'd think would be unthinkable, but stranger things have happened.
The Suarez is the main one. You could look at Man United if you want an outside one. Maybe even if you want to be uber brave, go for Lukaku with my blue glasses on. But he scored 3 goals in 2 games, though, mate. You know what I mean?
Oh, we spoke about him a lot last season, Rich. I mean, he's fixture proof, and he will cause City problems.
And then I suppose, like you said, Spurs has not got a lot in it, but it's one of them tough fantasy football weeks, isn't it, where you can't really nail down much anywhere. There's potential lying all over the pitch for it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'd completely echo all of what you said. I have Suarez. I don't have Sturridge. Whichever you have, I'd be saying, there's your captain right there. If not, I think Van Persie is a good shout, and my third and outside shout would be I would be going Eriksen. He's going to be my vice captain in case Suarez bites someone overnight and he gets just in case. Eriksen will be the man to step up for me. So yeah, there you go. So we just have a couple of questions there, Rich. I'll throw them at you. This one is from Andrew Tavey. What player do you guys tip for top fantasy football point scorer this year? Interesting question.
Wow, that is a very interesting question. Any particular, just overall?
Overall, yeah.
Ozil or Suarez?
Yeah, I think Ozil is a really good shout. I mean, it would be amazing if Suarez did manage to pull around, but you wouldn't back against him, would you? I mean,
no, definitely not.
He showed last week, but Sturridge, he's not showing any signs of letting up this form, So yeah. It'd be interesting. Would you be looking at anyone from City, Yaya Toure, Aguero to pull it back around, maybe?
They don't do it consistently enough for me, and there's too much squad rotation in the ranks. Players can get pulled for any particular. They've got an all-star fancy football side themselves there, haven't they? You've got Negredo's, Jovicic's, Zeko's, Aguero's. That's just in the midfield, in the forward. It's just if they've got a big European Cup game come April time, are they going to risk it? A game against Stoke where one of them can get clattered. That's where I think that the points lack it for me.
So we're going Ozil.
He's got all the attributes, doesn't he, to do it. That's probably right. I can't see RVP doing it this year, but again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree there with Ozil. Certainly wouldn't be ruling Van Persie out either. I think it would be probably between Van Persie and Ozil. The two questions here from a brilliantly named account called Bad Idea Bear. He or she wants advice on a replacement for Brady in a similar price bracket.
Alma Fatino, West Brom.
Yeah, it's good shout. I mean, I had him in my picks this week. And not just on the performance last week, but he's been really good the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, two goals and two in it.
Yeah,
and he was awesome at Old Trafford, wasn't he? Let's be honest.
He was brilliant. That goal, I mean, he just made Ferdinand look like a mug. It was cracking goal. And West Brom, I made the point in the piece that that was one of the signings that really went under the radar. I mean, he came from Marseille. He's really talented player though. He's 27. It's not as if he's a young guy either. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a really interesting shout. It's brave. But it's certainly worth a look. I think from my point of view, I think where I would be going is Barkley. I mean, it's a straight swap. They're both 5.3 million. Yeah. I never thought Barkley would keep this form up. He's been immense. I'm sure you'll agree.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that I'd be looking at. If not Alma Fatino, as you said, and even Peter Whittingham. There's plenty of choice there again.
That's what I mean. There's so much choice in that bracket this year.
There's so much choice there, but I think the standout one would have to be Barkley for me anyway. And then the second question from him is, and final question is, keep the faith with RVP or ditch him?
I've ditched him, so there's my answer on that one. I think 14 million is a huge amount. You're talking the difference between getting Aguero and Suarez in your side at the moment, or Aguero and Rooney, for one player that he doesn't really have the support in the midfield at the moment. Apart from RVP or Rooney, there's no standout in the Man United team for me. The shipping goals at the back, so that rules out the defenders. The midfield's not really doing much. Fellaini is playing deeper in the mid. No, ditch, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, I've done the same. I've gotten rid of him. I felt dirty when I did it. I said at the very start that I was going to have him all season, but I think it's well worth for anyone that's listening to check out one of our regular writer Becca's article, which went up on site today. Fancy Football by Numbers. It's really interesting that none of the top % of the leading managers have RVP in their team, which I think speaks volumes for where you need to spend your money. As I said, I thought start of season, I mean, he's just too good not to have. He picked up that injury, which kind of did it for me. I could easily end up going back there in a couple of weeks if United pick up their form. But I mean, as you say, Rich, you can get two quality strikers. You can get a quality striker, and you can get another quality midfielder for the price. And then
that's at the end I did it, make it pure and simple.
It is probably the wiser thing to do, and I think if you read Becca's article, the stats don't lie. That's what the leaders are doing, and you can't really argue with what they're doing, can you, Rich?
No, mate. 3 million people and they're at the top. You've got to go with wisdom there at the end of the day.
Exactly. I think that quite wraps it up, Rich.
All right then. Well, Cian, I suppose we should say bye to Paul anyway. I think we lost him down Wembley Way somewhere at some point, I guess. But Cian, see you next time, mate.
Cheers, Rich. See you, everyone.
Ladies, everyone.